My name is Courtney Andrews, and I am a proud Marshall alumna. I graduated from the W. Page Pitt School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Yes, Professor Hollis, I remembered the whole thing. I didn't have to look it up. I played soccer here at Marshall, so my blood definitely runs Kelly Green. After Marshall, I made my way up to Connecticut, where I currently work at ESPN as a content associate on our digital live stream shows, which is just business jargon for I work in production. Today I'm here to talk about something that I started to experience in high school, but didn't really fully start to grasp until I started my career at ESPN a little over 2 years ago. Growing up, my idol was Erin Andrews, and since we have the same last name, I would make countless jokes about how I'm already halfway there when people would ask my career goals. I had dreams of becoming a sideline reporter and an influential female face in sports media. If you see them, you can be them. To me, that saying has two meanings, but these two meanings boil down to the same point: representation. Who is in the story is just as important as who is telling the story. When we're talking about who is in the story, in my case, an athlete, a coach, a parent, a mentor, we're already clued into the fact that this person is important athletically. They're either making insane plays or they are very influential in those plays coming to fruition. Who is telling the story is just as important, and sometimes more. Who is telling the story has the most influence over how the story is told. To clarify, when I say who is telling the story, I mean it in the same way as who is in the room or who is at the table. In 2019, PBS NewsHour conducted student reporting labs across the country to gauge how American teens viewed representation. Dejanay Brown, a South Mountain High School student from Arizona, said that feeling represented is empowering. Brown said, if you see people who look like you and sound like you and speak like you and come from the same place you come from, it serves as an inspiration. Another student from New Jersey said, we need to see people that look like ourselves and we can say, oh, that looks like me, or I identify with that. If you see them, you can be them. When you ask a lot of young professionals, specifically that work in sports media, how they got into the field, I guarantee you, most of them will say that they wanted to be on camera. They wanted to be an analyst, a sideline reporter, a play-by-play announcer, a color commentator, a host. If I were posed the same question, I would have the same answer. If you knew me back in my Marshall days, I was often referred to as sports reporter Courtney. Back when I would frequent the cornerstone of every Marshall student's experience, the Union Pub and Grill, I would walk in and get recognized, and people would go, aren't you that sports reporter girl? I thought I recognized you. Now, the fact that I played 4 years of Division I soccer, yet was still only recognized on campus for my schoolwork, probably gives you one of two impressions. One, wow, good for her. She was really doing the, we're not going to swear, dang thing, hustling and making herself known through her work. Or two, wow, she played 4 years of Division I soccer, yet was still only recognized for her schoolwork? Well, we all know the saying, those who can't do teach. Well, those who can't play cover. The point of sharing this fact about myself is to show that I, too, fall into the category of needing representation and storytelling. When I made the decision I wanted to work in sports, specifically sports media, there were only a few possibilities I could come up with. I could be a sideline reporter, or I could be a sports writer. When I was in high school, a sideline reporter or a sports writer were the only positions blatantly obvious to me as a female trying to get into the field. There weren't any play-by-play announcers or color commentators that were female when I was in high school. I didn't even begin to see other aspects of sports media until I started my time as sports reporter Courtney, which by this point I was already working in the media for 2 years. I got to see how college athletics worked from not only playing but reporting, and I saw that being a sports information director was an option. I really started to see more opportunity when I interned at the local TV station back home, ABC 27 from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. If you see them, you can be them. During my time at ABC 27, I essentially oversaw the whole production of the sportscast every night. My mentor, Greg Mace, would have me go out and shoot a game or story, come back and edit, then literally create the whole 5-minute sportscast from scratch. I was in charge of determining what we were even going to talk about that night, to over-the-shoulder graphics, scripts, and highlights. This was my first taste of sports production, and the more I learned from there, the more opportunities I saw. I saw the different futures that I could have in this field. Now, I'm not saying that if someone offered me an on-camera gig right now that I wouldn't even bat an eye at it. ESPN, you do know where to find me. When I was going through school and even after I graduated, I still had no scope of just how many different opportunities there are in sports media. There are so many roles that are essential to making sure that our content goes live without any issues. Roles a lot of people didn't know exist. I didn't even know a job that I hold currently existed until I was well into my first role at ESPN. I want to revisit what Dejanay Brown said in the PBS student reporting labs. If you see people who look like you and act like you and speak like you and come from the same place you come from, it serves as an inspiration. Representing the different key players in storytelling is just as important as properly representing who the story is about. I thought my only options as a female trying to break into this field were to be a sideline reporter or sports writer because those were the only opportunities I saw myself represented. If you see them, you can be them. During my senior year of college, my mentor sat me down and had a conversation with me about how I should probably look at jobs that aren't just on camera. And to be honest, I had a little bit of a spiral. I didn't even know what else was out there that allowed me to stay in this lane. I had no source of inspiration. It honestly didn't even start to click for me until I was well into my first role at ESPN. Just on the Bristol campus alone, there are 4,000 employees. Now, obviously not all of them work in storytelling, but a whole lot of them do. So let's just say 2,000 people are working in storytelling on the ESPN campus. That's 2,000 jobs where I only saw 2. By not accurately representing different avenues or skills people can use to succeed and make a difference in sports media, we're in turn deterring thousands of people away that could be really making a difference in this space. When I was in high school deciding what career path I wanted to go down, I chose sideline reporting because that's all I saw people that looked and sounded like me doing. Shout out to Erin Andrews. But by no means should there only be Courtneys telling the story. And I want to leave you with this. Imagine what a world would look like if every single one of us saw ourselves not just represented in an Oscar winner or the lead in a musical on Broadway or in a sideline reporter. What if we saw ourselves represented in set designers, sound mixers, lighting engineers, or even a blog writer? We all have so much untapped potential that we never even knew it was a possibility for us to use. Imagine all the undiscovered great stories and great storytellers we'll never know because they didn't think they belonged in this space. If you see them, you can be them.